On to overtime.
Dwayne Wade right at the body of Anderson Varejao. Welcome to your Kodak moment, Anderson Varejao.
Doncic pulls up, three-pointer. Bang! Bang! It's good! Doncic wins the game at the buzzer!
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the 3OT show. We doing the last mock draft. Coming to you live from, southern Vermont right now at college. We gonna do it. We gonna do a full first round. As you can see, we're on PFN and not Mock Draft Network right now because we are gonna allow trades. As always, I'm here with the greatest Browns fan on the planet Earth. We got Sam in the house.
I wouldn't go that far, but, greetings. How do you do?
And as I said, we're going to allow trades. Of course, Sam, I'm going to do odds. You're going to do evens. Does that sound about right?
Works for me.
And with all that being said, let's just get it started. All right. Well, if we're doing odds, do we really need to talk about the Trevor Lawrence pick? Currently, the betting odds are so that if you bet $10 on Trevor Lawrence being the first pick, you would win 10 cents. So I think it's pretty clear we're going Trevor Lawrence. I'm confused to see how he works in Urban Meyer's offense. Like, I don't know what to expect from Urban Meyer at this point. I assume it's going to be a lot of spread, but it's interesting enough for me to be excited about it. Trevor Lawrence, heralded as this Jesus Messiah figure when it comes to the quarterback position. What do you want me to say? It's the best player in the class at the most important position at a position of need for Jacksonville.
Yeah, definitely. He, there's few players we've ever seen like this, and there's, we probably won't see a player like him for quite a while again. His college resume speaks for itself. He had one of the best win streaks for a quarterback in Clemson's history. And, of course, they were beat in the semifinals last year, but to sort of end his career as Clemson's leader. But other than that, his resume is just top to bottom perfection as far as a college quarterback goes.
Yeah. Can we talk about how crazy it is that Clemson went from Deshaun Watson to Trevor Lawrence and is now going to DJ Uiagalelei?
Yeah, there's that program. Dabo is not a great coach, but he is an incredible recruiter.
Yeah.
And it's definitely evident.
For sure. All right, Sam, who do you want to go off the board with the Jets at number 2, who did just trade Sam Darnold to the Panthers?
Yeah, so number 2, the Jets, it's maybe a couple of weeks ago, it might have been a little bit more thought put into this pick, but after that trade of Sam Darnold, it's obvious. It's Zach Wilson, number 2. He's, currently, other than Trevor Lawrence, he has the most immediate upside of a quarterback in this draft class, in my opinion. I think in the long term, Fields has a higher upside going forward, but right now Zach Wilson is the best, option for them. He's not too different from Sam Darnold's play style. That's going to disrupt the offense when he comes in, and I'm assuming it's, that basically a new team in terms of the coaching is going to be, they're going to try and really start something new with that, and going to go to, not be 2-14 this season. Well, I guess now it would be 2-15 with a 17-game season.
Yeah. I'm so excited for the Jets next year, man. I'm looking forward to it so heavily.
They're either going to be 3-14 or like 7-8.
I think they can genuinely make a run at a 500 record.
Or 7-9, whatever.
The AFC East has suddenly gone from like just Brady's doormats to just really good teams.
Yeah, there's a lot of ups and downs with that division as a whole, but there's a lot of opportunity for shifting in that division as well. And
Yeah.
I think we both agree that the the Bills are going to be number one in that division for a hot length of time. But
Yeah. I think we are kind of sleeping on the Patriots as well, though, but
yeah,
we'll
I mean,
get to that at some point.
Newton is definitely going to try his hardest to actually make a case for being the starter next season. So,
And they're going to have tons of people coming back from opt-outs.
yep, definitely. Their defense was basically, consisted of 3 good players and like the janitor for the practice team playing
Yeah.
and their defense. But
I mean, all of that is true. I think Zach Wilson is going to be super exciting with Mekhi Becton there.
mhm,
I mean, George Fant is whatever. Most of their offensive line is whatever. But Mekhi Becton on the left side of Zach Wilson protecting him, I'm so excited to see the Denzel Mims breakout. I mean, there's so much to look forward to with this Jets team right now. And
yeah, I mean,
I love Zach Wilson as a prospect. I think he may have higher upside than Trevor Lawrence. I think Trevor Lawrence has the highest floor of any quarterback in this class.
yeah, definitely.
I think Zach Wilson may have a higher upside than Trevor Lawrence just because
Yeah.
of those off-platform throws that Wilson makes so regularly. Trevor Lawrence makes them and makes them often, but he doesn't look as effortless doing it as Zach Wilson does. And I mean,
Yep. Plus,
it's
the dude is a cannon.
Yeah. I mean, it's amazing that in this draft class we have 3 quarterbacks that I would take with the first pick last year and the first pick the year before.
Yeah.
So, it's ridiculous. With that being said, I'm going to take the 49ers pick here, and let me just say that this one is tough.
Yeah.
So I know all the rumors saying Mac Jones. I would go Justin Fields here, but for some sake of realisticness, what's that word? Realism. I am gonna go Trey Lance here instead of Justin Fields because I think it's more realistic that they take the project and sit him behind Garoppolo for a year. And that's not to say that Justin Fields is going to come in and be great immediately, but Trey Lance feels like for the athletic ceiling and, the like, I don't know. I would take Justin Fields. I really would. I find it ridiculous that they're not going to. And I can't even say like, oh, the traits that Trey Lance has are so much better than Justin Fields because they're not. But what I will say about Trey Lance is that he was adjusting his own offensive line pre-snap. He wasn't just adjusting the play, he was adjusting the entirety of the offensive line, which is kind of ridiculous for a quarterback to do. He was incredibly accurate within 10 yards, inside and outside the hashes. And I think, Kyle Shanahan certainly is going to have some say on the roster. You're just not going to get away from that. What I will say is that if you have to choose between Mac Jones and Trey Lance, you take Trey Lance because Mac Jones will even out as like at best a top 12, 15 quarterback. Trey Lance, Zach Wilson, Justin Fields, and Trevor Lawrence all have potential to be top 5 quarterbacks.
Yeah. And, I was talking with somebody the other day about Mac Jones and basically said that he's either going to be the guy that you hear about every now and then about having a good game, or he's going to be Colt McCoy.
Yeah.
And
he just doesn't have the crazy upside.
Yeah, no upside, and he played for the greatest college, coach in history, and had a hell of a team to throw to.
Embarrassment of riches, not just to throw to, like Najee Harris to keep an extra player in the box. I mean, the offensive line was incredibly strong, even if it didn't have, the crazy big name players that it used to. It's just insane, man. It's
Definitely
ridiculous. And also, I think if people are having character concerns with Justin Fields, with the whole, oh, he's not willing to learn, last guy in, first guy out type mentality. First of all, we've heard none of that from Ohio State. And I think Georgia, it's a bit more understandable if you're just not given a chance to start.
Yeah, I mean, if you're that good and you're not starting, I would be mad too.
Yeah. And then we've seen nothing but unbridled work ethic from Fields at Ohio State. And then with Mac Jones, like, we have multiple DUIs. We have, the Obama dress up, whatever you want to call it, the racist, cartoonish, like Halloween costume he made and wore. Well, there's so many more concerns about Mac Jones, who looks like he's never worked out in his life,
Yeah.
than there are about Fields, and I'm really not about to have that conversation.
Yeah, I mean, Mac Jones looks like the guy that, like, his dad paid Alabama to have him have a quarterback position.
Yeah, he was the walk-on that didn't get scholarship, so he just kept paying.
Yeah, he's the trust fund kid, basically, and he's not bad at football, but he's not going to be one for the history books.
Well, he's very good at football.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, the anticipation is really good. I'm not going to get insane here, but, like, his throws, like, 30, 40 yards down the field kind of die on him.
Yep.
Which is what turned lots of Jalen Waddle, like, breakout speeds into jump balls, which, whatever.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It's going to be so hard for him to, like, if your throw dies 40 yards down the field, I'm sure most coaches would rather have an underthrow than an overthrow, because on an underthrow, the receiver still has a chance to get it. But even then, like, with Mac Jones, you're getting something kind of similar to Jimmy Garoppolo anyway. And if you trade up this far, why wouldn't you get something entirely different? It's not just a money thing.
Yeah, plus, I mean, at their original position, they would have had opportunity to, at the very least, get Mac Jones, if not Trey Lance as well. And so them trading into the third pick.
Well, they were at 12.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure they could have hopped up to, like, I mean, we've heard the Panthers are willing to trade down and gotten Mac Jones there, and that wouldn't have cost 2 firsts and a third and a fifth.
Right. When they make that trade, you think they're going to go for, somebody that's looking more like the next Deshaun Watson, not somebody that's looking like the next Daniel Jones.
Yeah. My biggest thing is, if you trade up that far, don't draft to win the division every year. Draft to win a Super Bowl every year. And with that being said, Sam, why don't you take us away with the Falcons at 4? Is this going to be the first trade spot, or are you going to take someone?
I'm going to take someone. I mean, we just spoke about him a lot, and I think they're the best option for them in this position is going to be taking Fields at number 4. It's the best. I think he's the second best quarterback overall in terms of overall, like, longevity and upside. I think he's the second best in this draft class, but it's weird seeing 1, 2, 3, 4 all being quarterback picks, but I think currently it is going to be it's the best option for the Falcons at number 4. They could trade down and just get a skill position, or even just like an offensive lineman or something like that, or something to bolster their defense. But I think right now their best option is drafting a replacement for Matt Ryan, because he has 1 year tops left of being a decent starter, and they need to have the backup guy ready to go. Run under him for half a season maybe, and then come in second half of the season when Matt Ryan's underperforming, or just have him be this sort of take some snaps every now and then, but mostly be a backup until the following season.
What I will say is that this could be Kyle Pitts or Jamar Chase, because they really do need to reload that receiving core. I mean, look, Julio, he might be gone like before this season. If not, he'll be gone after next.
Yeah, he does not seem happy.
Calvin Ridley, he's a very good receiver, but I think he's already 27. Like, they get old fast. I think Russell Gage is their number 3, who's very good as a number 3, but like you start moving him up the depth chart and it's an issue. So I think this would be a spot for Jamar Chase for that. I also think if you want to, take the big option as a pass catcher, I know they just traded for Hayden Hurst. It really doesn't matter. You can run great 2 tight end sets with Kyle Pitts.
Yep.
And go from there. I do think here's what the way I see it. If you trade back and take the best defensive player, you just go defense throughout the draft, you're going to go into next season with an offense that can put up a lot of points and a defense full of young players who want to have something to prove. And you're going to lose tons of games, 34-27. If you take an offensive option, you're going to look even better, right? You're going to score more points. You're going to lose, whatever it is, 38-34. Or 38 is a weird number, 37-34, who cares, right? If you, the reason you should take a quarterback at 4 is if all of that is true and you keep losing next year, 34-27, 34-20, whatever, at least you have hope that it'll change in a new era with a new quarterback.
Yeah, definitely. They need to, this might just be a rebuilding year for them coming up, even if they don't take Fields at 4.
Yeah.
If they trade down, it's upcoming years, they're in kind of a limbo here, and they have the option to either be, this upcoming season's Texans, or they're going to be, just the sort of middling team that doesn't do a whole lot, but still has signs of positivity going forward.
Yeah. I mean, taking a quarterback at 4 is the only way to break the cycle of what they've been in for the past 4 years.
Yeah.
So
ever since they lost the Super Bowl, they've just been on a downward spiral.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that defense fell apart in front of their eyes. Keanu Neal is gone now too. It's just kind of sad for them.
Yeah.
I do think this would be a great trade up spot. I think at this point, I think it's between Kyle Pitts and Justin Fields, or whichever quarterback is left, or a trade down. Yeah. Those are the 3 options I would see for the Falcons. Oh, and with that being said, Bengals. Sam, what would you want your in-city or in-state rivals to do? Because I know what I'm going to do. I know what I think they have in Sharpie if the draft turns out this way.
Yeah, what I want them to do is trade away their first-round pick and draft in like the 2nd round, so they don't have a good player coming in.
Okay.
What I think they should do is bolster that offensive line.
Yeah. Well, what I think they're going to do is take Jamar Chase. I think this is kind of in Sharpie. Riley Reif is going to step in for them at right tackle and hopefully be something there. I know the Penei Sewell stuff is a big thing, like bring in protection for Joe Burrow. I get it. He's coming off an ACL tear. I just think they're going to be so excited to pair like Auden Tate and T. Higgins and all of them with Jamar Chase and just have all these big go up and get it receivers and try to patch up the offensive line. I mean, there's more than one round in the draft. The Bengals, I think, have the 37th overall pick as well. So it's not impossible for the Bengals to still have a good offensive line, even if they don't go offensive line in the first.
Yeah.
I just think like the weird thing is it's a decent tackle class. Like there's a lot of great depth and it's another great wide receiver class. Like last year's was awesome. This year's is great. I mean, we just keep getting more and more great receivers. So why would you go receiver in the first? Well, Jamar Chase, for me, is clearly the number 1 wide receiver, has already played with Joe Burrow. And I mean, they want to sell tickets as well. And there are few things more marketable than Jamar Chase and Joe Burrow together again.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. They're going to go crazy with all their, they showed off for, I don't know if it was a leak or they showed it off, but some new uniforms. They're definitely going to go crazy with all that marketing if they do draft Jamar Chase.
The new uniforms are dope, though.
Yeah, they're clean.
All right, well, I mean, I do think Kyle Pitts would be fun here. I think Kyle Pitts is, better than Jamar Chase by a pretty decent margin too. I don't know how realistically I can say that would happen.
Yeah, it's, I think Chase is just their best. I agree with you. I think it is what they should do. I think it's what they probably will do. I don't think they're going to give away that fifth pick either. I think they like where they're at. They're going to be able to get some good guys soon, early on Thursday night.
Yep, for sure. I mean, this is going to be a fun draft to watch, even though the first 2 picks are chalk, and then 3, 4, 5, we think we know what's going to happen. But 6, I want to hear what you're going to do with this, Sam, because there are so many options on the board, especially now that they've traded Eric Flowers.
Yeah, this is kind of an interesting spot to be in with the Dolphins. They are also sort of in that, football team limbo where, you look at Tua and you think, oh, they have a good guy coming up here soon. He's going to really take the team to the next level. But when he came in for Fitzpatrick, he didn't really take the team to the next level. He was benched for Fitzpatrick in the most important game of their season against the Raiders last year.
Yep.
And it's, that there's a lot of improvement that they need to do. I think that they have the best chance to be a wild card pick from that division. And I think they know it, and they just need to bolster their team. I'm considering a trade for this one just because they don't necessarily need a pick in the top 6. I'm going to check something real quick. Yeah, so I think the best option for them this is actually kind of an interesting, I'm just weighing all of I have the big board on my phone as well, just to sort of see
Yep.
all the various players available here. Yeah, I was thinking Kwity Paye.
Kwity Paye at 6?
If in terms of just what would fit in with it, not at 6, but just of players that would fit there. But I think I'm just gonna go with Penei Sewell just because he's what their team would need to improve their offense, and they have a decent running back and a quarterback with a moderately high ceiling and a pretty low floor.
Yep.
And number one thing you got to do with a young quarterback is protect them, as we saw with Burrow last year. Burrow was on track to maybe win Offensive Rookie of the Year, and then his knee said otherwise.
Yeah. I do think they're more looking into wide receiver than tackle. I think I've heard tons of rumors of Penei Sewell falling. That being said, I am someone who thinks the Dolphins should go offensive line over wide receiver at this point.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of Preston Smith, big fan of Devontae Parker, even though he had a down year last year after his breakout 2 years ago. I know Robert Hunt played awesome. I know they just spent a first-round pick on Austin Jackson. I know, this offensive line is kind of put together and built in a really good way. But at some point, taking Penei Sewell at 3 would have been overkill. Moving down, netting a first-round pick, and then coming back up with another, first that you got, and then still getting him at 6, much better move. Because no one ahead of them, I don't think, at this point is going to take Penei Sewell. The Bengals are not taking Penei Sewell if Jamar Chase is on the field, in my opinion. So it's the Dolphins just showing that they are a far better organization than they have been in the past. Again, I love this move. I mean, it's hard not to, kind of romanticize how great and smart Chris Grier has been with moving around the board for the Dolphins. And of course, they have another pick. I think it's 18
Yeah,
at
I'm pretty sure
18,
it's
exactly. And they can improve the roster that way. I mean, look, wide receivers tend to fall. I remember when, look, we saw CD Lamb fall to the mid-20s last year, or the early 20s last year. We saw Jerry Jeudy fall to 15 when he was supposed to be a consensus top 12 pick. So you can always get wide receivers later, especially when they have a good set of wide receivers and just need a pure separator. They can find that guy later. What you can't find later, for the most part, is an incredible offensive line prospect, and they get that here. So I love the pick. I mean, it's hard not to love this pick. Like so someone I work with is a big Dolphins fan. He's been yelling about wanting Jamar Chase for a while. If Jamar Chase isn't there, the only other option you can think of is Jalen Waddle. And even then, even then, is Jalen Waddle going to help you win as much as someone like Penei Sewell? I don't think so.
Exactly. Yeah, I mean, there's, as I said before, their number one priority is protecting their quarterback that they drafted last year. And they're putting a lot of stock into him, especially with letting Fitzpatrick go. And it's something that they're just going to need to invest even more into protecting him, because I don't even know who the backup would be if he got injured. So
if Tua got injured,
yeah.
Jacoby Brissett, I think.
Yeah, that's not somebody that I'd necessarily trust with leading my team to the playoffs potentially.
Yeah.
Either way, I don't trust Tua leading the team to the playoffs that much either. But
you're a Tua hater?
Not a hater, just a sometimes doubter. I don't think he's as good as they've been saying, but
I just really want a lefty to succeed in the NFL. I think it's possible.
Yeah, it's offenses are written up for right-handed passers, but I think he's Tua has. If you asked me before last season what Tua's upside was, I would have said it's a lot higher than I think it is now. But I think he also has a lot of room for growth as a player. I think not that he's bad right now, but he's definitely has, of the rookie quarterbacks from last season that started a handful of games, I think that he's, other than Herbert's by far the best quarterback from last class, but I think Tua is the guy that I would invest in second after Herbert.
I mean, it's Herbert, Burrow, Tua.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. All right. Number 7, the Lions, football's wasteland. I don't know why they believe in Jared Goff, but either way, there's no quarterback they can take that's going to be able to sit and then improve the team by a lot. They need corner, even though they just took Jeff Okudah at 3rd last year, mostly because, the Darius Slayton Trey and then Desmond Trufant didn't work out for them. But more than anything, they need pass catchers, man.
Yeah.
They lost Marvin Jones and Kenny Golladay this year. I don't know who their number 3 is. I don't think I can name a single wide receiver on that team right now. It's bad. It really is. That's not to say the offensive line is good, because it's also terrible. But you got to if you want Jared Goff to succeed, you can't have him throwing to no names. I mean, what the Rams did for him was over and over again. It was Cooper Kupp. It was Robert Woods. No, wait. Was it Robert? I don't think. God, I don't know. I always get the Chargers and Rams receiving cores mixed up now. I think Robert Woods is Chargers. God, I can't remember. I know Cooper Kupp is Rams. Either way,
Yeah, it
my
doesn't
brain
matter.
is falling apart. Either way, with the 7th overall pick, I am going Jalen Waddle just because they need a wide receiver real bad. And look, you got to get something for Jared Goff. I think Jalen Waddle is this class's most dynamic threat. I think Jamar Chase is going to be the best wide receiver. He's incredible. I think Jalen Waddle is both a pure separator in the short yardage situations with his route running, which is far more polished than people give him credit for, and has an incredible speed threat. Like, I mean, this man raced Henry Ruggs and tied him and is a far better prospect than Ruggs was, because his athletic ceiling is higher. Not only that, he's not just Henry Ruggs was not just a speed guy. He had the route running as well. He was good off the snap, good in the slot. Jalen Waddle is a different beast. Jalen Waddle is incredible from the slot. If Henry Ruggs was a Walmart Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle might just be the real thing.
Yeah, Jalen Waddle he is my favorite receiver out of the draft class personally. And of course, Jamar Chase is a close number 2. But he's who I would have taken here as well, and he's, I think, far and away their best chance to at least have a semi-dynamic offense, because they're probably losing Adrian Peterson and
well, I mean, they have what's his name, DeAndre Swift.
Yeah, they do, and
as a rookie,
so he's going to be good. He's going to improve overall once he just starts to getting more snaps as well. And it's just Goff it's kind of a miracle that he led a team to the Super Bowl. One could argue it was more Aaron Donald that led the team to the Super Bowl.
And Sean McVay. Sean McVay was able to make a winning team with a player who does not know, who has all the gifts but has no clue what's going on.
Yeah, I mean, Goff is a talented quarterback, but he's not a smart quarterback.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
There's, I mean, after the Super Bowl in 2018, I think it was, or 2019, he had an incredible. I would say he's the quarterback that I would want to start a franchise. But now I'm just after watching the past 2 seasons, he's the quarterback you want to trade away. To get some draft picks.
There's a reason why the Rams had to attach another first-round pick to get off his deal, because it's a terrible contract. He's a mediocre player, and he's getting paid like a top 10 quarterback.
Yeah, and the upside of getting Stafford over, Stafford's record in Detroit does not represent his quality as a quarterback. Stafford is, in terms of talent, I think Stafford's probably a top 12, top 10 quarterback, and he's been riddled with injuries as well. But on a team like the Rams, he's gonna shine.
Yeah, I mean, this is getting more into the Rams, but I'm so excited for that offense. On the other side of things, don't draft Lions players in fantasy next year.
Yeah.
The most you can draft is DeAndre Swift because he's going to be getting a ton of touches. But anyone outside of that seems like a bad decision, man.
Yeah.
All right, Sam. Number 8, Panthers. Biggest needs on the board are tackle and tight end. So just traded for Sam Darnold. Who knows if he's the quarterback of the future? I personally would rather have Teddy Bridgewater, but that's just me.
As what I am, Teddy Bridgewater was, the backup to a top 5 quarterback the last 20 years, if you ask me. And Yeah, I don't think Sam Darnold really deserves the starting job. I don't think anybody with a brain would say that over Teddy Bridgewater. But that's not what we're talking about here. What we're talking about here is what that team needs.
Can I go on a rant about the Sam Darnold thing real quick?
Please do.
So here's my issue. Sam Darnold came into the draft, and his biggest issue was tends to get overcommitted to making tight throws and making hero throws. He came into what is admittedly a terrible situation. Adam Gase is a terrible head coach who did not put him in a situation to succeed. That being said, he came into the draft with issues with accuracy and issues with over pursuing throws. What has he been doing for the past 3 years? Has had issues with accuracy and over pursues throws. So, I mean, he's exactly what the worst case scenario was for him coming into his draft. Not worst case scenario, but a bad scenario. And he's just gotten a full pass on it because it was Adam Gase. And I think that's kind of ridiculous. Now, truth be told, I could be wrong. He could be great for the Panthers. All right. It's a buy low move. However, the fact that he's just getting a complete pass for being bad, like being the worst quarterback in the NFL, and he's just given a pass on that because of his head coach is kind of crazy to me. I understand where it comes from. I know the whole Ryan Tannehill, Minka Fitzpatrick, get away from Adam Gase and you play better idea. But the fact that no one is putting any onus on Sam Darnold annoys me.
Yeah, that whole situation is just, I would not want to be a Panthers fan right now. And yeah, I've never wanted to be a Jets fan in my life because who the hell wants to be a Jets fan? But it's
a far better. Well, I mean, the thing that makes me sad about the Panthers thing is that I think they have one of the most talented young rosters in the NFL. And now,
oh yeah,
instead of, moving up for one of the quarterbacks, that would be great. Yo, not right now. Shit, I'm going to have to cut that out. Either way, having Sam Darnold on that team kind of slows that down by a year because they're going to keep getting better and they're going to get further and further from a top 10 pick. And at this point, if you can trade up to 4 and get Justin Fields for that rebuild, this Sam Darnold trade kind of makes that impossible. And Sam Darnold is not better than any of the top 4 players in this class. So
yeah, definitely. So I think.
Sorry, I completely railroaded that.
Yeah, no
Who's your
problem.
pick at 8?
My pick at 8 is going to be Kyle Pitts. I mean, they need a tight end, drastically, and I think just that he would round out their offense perfectly. They have, a phenomenal running back. Without question, top 3, arguably the best running back in the league, and they have decent receivers with Robbie Anderson and Curtis Samuel, and Kyle Pitts is, he's the most dynamic tight end in a draft class we've seen in the last, however many years. He's such a unique player, and the fact that he doesn't play like a big tight end, just run 6 yards and catch it.
Kyle Pitts is awesome.
Yeah,
he has the biggest catch radius I've ever seen.
Yeah, and he has the skill of like a really good wide receiver too. He could play wide receiver if he wanted to. He's just built for tight end, and he's really gonna step up that offense. I think he might. You just mentioned fantasy. I think he could be a sleeper pick for a tight end position on a fantasy team. I think whoever their quarterback is, hoping their quarterback is Teddy Bridgewater just for his performance, for Kyle Pitts' performance, that's going to be that the passing offense on that team is going to be scary.
I'm so excited for it. DJ Moore, Robbie Anderson, whoever is going to be at quarterback. Christian McCaffrey with them too. And then you add Kyle Pitts to that. You have, the crazy versatile route running McCaffrey, who's also just a great runner in between the tackles. You have, DJ Moore on the outside being an incredible slot threat, an incredible threat on the outside for just, intermediate yardage. You have Robbie Anderson, who goes over the top and had a great year last year. And now you add Kyle Pitts, who's just going to be A, the red zone threat, and B, is just like an insane, just go up and get it guy that can get open. You put a linebacker on him, the linebacker isn't fast enough. You put a corner on him, the corner has to be incredibly strong, agile, and like long in order to stop him. And 99% of corners can't do that.
Mm-hmm.
I would love to see Kyle Pitts with the Panthers. Adding Kyle Pitts to the Panthers would just make that team more exciting going forward as far as young teams go.
Yeah, I think, and depending on their sort of their quarterback decision, as well as just some other factors in the division, I think they have a chance to be the second team in the division, be number 2 in the division behind the Bucs probably. But there's a lot to look forward to in that team.
Oh yeah. It's great. I mean, I love the Panthers. I really do. They're just, I don't know how you build a team this well only to have people not know what's going on with them.
Yeah.
Like, people really think that Sam Darnold is coming to the Panthers to save their organization when if it were to work, it'd be the other way around.
Yep.
All right. Well, here we are at pick number 9, which is strange. First of all, they are a team that could move up for someone like Trey Lance if they fell. If Mac Jones really does go 3 and we see 4, Justin Fields or Trey Lance trade up from someone, and then the Broncos are sitting there and manage to grab one of them, that would be great for them. That being said, it's not going to happen here. Additionally, the best players on the board, their offensive line is really good. They don't need Rashawn Slater. They just invested heavily with Kyle Fuller, all of that. AJ Boye isn't there anymore, but Michael Ojemudia, I think it is, he had a great year last year. So they have some corner depth. They're not going to go someone like that. I think this is the first major trade down spot. And what I think is going to happen is I'm going to have the Chargers moving up 4 picks to grab Rashawn Slater. And of course, can't really change the prices for the, the trade price, if that makes sense, very much. I probably don't want to do in-division trades. Who else wants to come up for an offensive lineman? God, the Vikings? I don't know. This has gone to shit. Damn. All right, well, I don't know, man. I'm trying to think of who would come up for an offensive lineman. Or, you know what? We keep seeing Mac Jones to the Patriots. Why don't we have that going? Patriots trade with Broncos. Sure. 1, 2. I don't know how much it's going to cost. How about 2 seconds and a 5th to move up? Hey, trade has been accepted. Panthers. Patriots are going to move up for Mac Jones. I don't think it's the best option as far as that goes. I don't think Mac Jones is what the Patriots really need. That being said, Mac Jones is going to go a lot higher than he probably should. The Patriots built around. This is not to say Mac Jones is like Brady. Mac Jones is not going to be Brady, but the Patriots did build around an immobile, pocket passing quarterback with great anticipation. They've added more wide receivers. If Cam can't figure it out, then you have a different type of quarterback that has the touch and anticipation and the ball placement that Cam has lacked recently. And, there you go. As far as why the Broncos would do it, moving down when you don't have someone there that's a great position of need is always a good option. And I mean, look, Mac Jones is going to go at some point. I don't think Mac Jones and Drew Lock are that big of a difference. Drew Lock was really bad last year. That being said, I don't think Mac Jones to the Broncos makes a whole lot of sense.
Yeah.
And they have enough stuff to go now. If you just add draft picks, add extra second rounders, they do have holes. Linebacker is kind of weak for them. They do need another edge rusher with Von Miller getting so much older. They're missing defensive tackle, but there's none that you would take at 9. And then, they could go that in the second round. Their offensive line is built. Running back is kind of weird with, Philip Lindsay being released. And then now Melvin Gordon is sticking around. So I think you kind of want more bites at the apple, especially when you're just trying to build an all-around team that is really strong at a couple positions. Most notably, wide receiver is built really nicely. And their safety duo is really nice as well. It just doesn't make sense to go that far in when there's nothing that fits your holes and you have good enough spots at what's available anyway.
Yeah, definitely. I agree with this decision. It's Mac Jones. We've said a lot about Mac Jones already today, and it's a lot of sort of just weirdness around his team. Him going forward. I mean, his performance going forward, and the Patriots in their own state of limbo right now, and it's. I think that he's for the Patriots. If I had the Patriots pick at 15, which I didn't in the first place, but if I did, I would have taken Mac Jones then if he was still available.
Yeah. I mean, here's the thing. The Patriots bottomed out this year, and they were still drafting 15th overall. This is the worst Patriots year we've seen in like 20 years. And it was just the 15th pick in the draft. So at that point, you take a stab at getting a new quarterback, getting your quarterback of the future, because you're not going to be here again. And if you are, the price is going to be way higher than 2 seconds.
Yeah. Plus, I mean, there are a few coaches in NFL history that I think a rookie quarterback would want to train under and learn under, other than Bill Belichick. His resume speaks for itself in terms of his argument to be considered the greatest of all time.
Yeah.
By the time he retires, I might rename the Lombardi Trophy to the Belichick Trophy.
I mean, I don't know about all that.
Yeah.
That being said, Belichick is probably one of the 3 best coaches of all time already.
And he still has probably 10 more years of coaching left in him, at least.
At least, yeah. Yeah, I mean, there you go. Belichick makes his move. I think, should Mac Jones go top 10? Probably not. Is he going to? Absolutely. And I just think, quarterback is the most important position. If the Patriots want to get their backup plan if Cam doesn't work, and either way, if Cam does work next year, it's not like he's going to be playing for for the next 10 years. That's the thing. Cam is clearly on a downwards trend. If he has 1 or 2 good years in him still, that's awesome. If he doesn't, Mac Jones can play. And if he can still play for the next 2 years and a bit longer, you have Mac Jones in the background. And you can win games with Mac Jones.
Yeah.
All right, Sam. First of all, fuck the Cowboys. Second of all, what are you having doing?
There's a lot of options that they have. There's a lot of needs that they have, especially on defense. I just think their secondary is non-existent, and they've lost a couple of players to retirement in this offseason. And I think the best choice for the Cowboys is, first of all, crossing their fingers and hoping he's still there, and taking Patrick Surtain
Yep.
at 10. He's great. He's not. He has a lot of potential to be.
Alabama corners come in ready.
Yeah, Alabama's known for putting out great, great wide receivers and things like that recently, but their corners they know how to train a defense at that school, and he's going to be pro ready. He's going to be. He might win Defensive Rookie of the Year. That's if I were to bet on it right now, I would say he probably is going to win, depending on the defense that he goes to.
That's also the first defensive player off the board in the top 10, which if no defensive player goes in the top 10, it would be the first time it ever happened.
Yeah, and he's great. If you know anything about the history of football, you know what the name Patrick Surtain means, and it's his dad made a name for himself, and now it's his turn. And I think the Cowboys are the best opportunity for him to do that. And he's also the Cowboys' best opportunity to actually have a good defense to back up, assuming their offense stays healthy. Their offense is going to be a sight to behold, as they would hope, at least. If Dak is healthy, they're going to be deadly in the NFC East. And I think they're going to win the division. I think that's either be them or Washington that wins the division.
I think it's still Washington, in my opinion.
But it's definitely to be seen, and my opinion may change after Thursday night, but we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, look, the comp for me on Patrick Surtain is Marlon Humphrey, who I think is another Alabama corner.
Yeah.
And he's just going to come in and be really consistent and really consistently good. It's not like you have to develop Patrick Surtain to some crazy amount to make him great. I think he has the highest floor of any of the corners in this class, and that's not to say he has a low ceiling either. I'm personally out on J.C. Horn. I don't have a really high opinion on him. I personally would take Greg Newsome over J.C. Horn. That being said, I mean, Caleb Farley had his spine injury. He's my number one corner in this class if he weren't injured, but since he is, it's Patrick Surtain. I mean, there's really nothing bad you can say about Patrick Surtain. He's your prototypical corner. He's going to do everything right. And look, large physical cornerback, great press man corner. What were the downsides they had written? Late reacting to opponents off the snack, possesses average instincts and gets beaten by ball fakes, tend to do a bit of face guarding, better facing the action. That's it. Look at that massive paragraph. Great tackler, very good defending the run, great burst. I mean, I think the average instincts are a bit of an exaggeration. He has good instincts. It's not like he's going to not be looking at the ball and just have the internal clock to turn around, but he's very consistent, very fundamentals based. I love me some Patrick Surtain. Yeah. All right. Well, I'm glad I got the odds because I get to do the Giants right here. And I know who I'm going with. I wouldn't do this. I really don't like doing this, but I know who I'm going with. The head coach, Joe Judge, has had the largest influence on the roster being built this offseason, to the point that Gettleman has talked about, no longer doing everything, doing most of it. It's been Joe Judge saying, let's go get that guy. We can talk about the contract. There's a point where we have to walk away from the table, but Judge wanted Galladay, who I think is still not a great signing, but remains to be seen. Judge wanted Adoree Jackson. They got it done. All of that. So with that being said, all we've heard is how much Joe Judge loves Devontae Smith. And if Devontae Smith is still available, Dave Gettleman refuses to trade down ever, but I think he's going to listen to Joe Judge and go with another offensive option. I mean, look, the offensive line is terrible. You having great weapons is one thing, but like when your quarterback is Daniel Jones, I'm a Giants fan. I mean, I haven't drank the Kool-Aid on Daniel Jones. I've despised him ever since he came in. His rookie year had some fun moments, especially the game against Tampa. But throughout that year, you just started seeing, maybe this guy can't be a top 10 quarterback. And if your quarterback can't be a top 10 quarterback, you got to take another bite at the apple, in my opinion. However, they're not going to move off him as much as maybe they should. But Devontae Smith, maybe I think this is the perfect place for Devontae Smith to go. I don't think Devontae Smith can be a true number one. I don't. I think Devontae Smith, if he's given the option to be a technician, a route runner, someone who gets underneath the safety help, like right in that soft spot in a zone, and just moves off his man, he can make life so much easier, and especially when the number one corner is going to be on Galladay. All right. And then you have the number 3 corner on Darius Slayton, and it gets so much easier for them from there. I think that's going to be huge for them. I think this is the perfect spot for Devontae Smith. I think the Giants want Devontae Smith and are going to use him in the correct way. I mean, even adding Alabama players to Joe Judge's team where he spent so much time under Saban, it just makes sense. I am someone who does have concerns about Devontae Smith. I personally have. I know people are going to find this ridiculous. I have Rashad Bateman over Devontae Smith. I have so many worries about the size. I know it's not like they're not weightlifting. It's not boxing. They don't need to be huge. But when you're 6 foot flat and 170 pounds dripping wet, I mean, I'm bigger than Devontae Smith. And it's a worry for me. It's an injury worry for me. I also think at some point, it is average athleticism. He might get swallowed up by a corner. I think if you're making plays, you're making plays. I hope he proves me wrong if this happens. Generally, I hope he proves me wrong no matter what, because I just want to see good football. But there you go. There's my thoughts on Devontae Smith. There's my thoughts on the Giants going after him. I don't know. I would personally go Rashawn Slater if he's still on the board if I was in the Giants front office. But
yeah, I agree with pretty much everything you've said here. Devontae Smith he's fast. He deserved the Heisman. He's as we've shown here, he's the 3rd best wide receiver in this class at best. And it's there's a lot of potential upside to him, but there's also a lot of potential downside. And I think with his current build, he's going to get tackled one day and he's going to break a leg or have a couple cracked ribs or something like that. He's a stick man out there, and he said we're not bodybuilders, but that doesn't stop various wide receivers from putting some muscle on their bones.
Yep. I mean, the one name for a wide receiver that skinny that has succeeded is Marvin Harrison. Outside of that, there's no one. And so is Devontae Smith Marvin Harrison? Maybe. But the chances of him being Marvin Harrison are far lower than, Rashawn Slater being a good offensive lineman, even great offensive lineman. And I think over-investing into wide receiver to prove that Daniel Jones is decent when he has everything working around him is a decision that really screws up a team. But
yeah, definitely.
Yeah. All right, Sam, you got the Eagles at 12. Please give them like Diablo Divine or something, or Divine Diablo, whatever his name is.
Yeah, I'm just thinking here. I'm just trying to. This is, they traded down here, so I don't really see them trading further down from this. Um,
Well, I mean, what would someone come up for, do you think?
yeah, I mean, like, I could see a team like the Bears move up if there was still a quarterback available, but we've kind of gotten rid of the main 5 quarterbacks already.
Yup.
Um, I mean, I think that all the teams that made the playoffs don't have a huge reason to come up.
This is a really weird spot for the Eagles to be in.
Yeah, and I mean, the Texans don't even have a first round pick, so they're screwed. I mean, they're like the one team that I would have come up that's not here. I mean, the Raiders I could also see, but they're gonna have plenty of options for what they need when it comes to their pick, anyways. So I do think I'm just gonna keep the Eagles here at 12, and I think that best fit for them, I think, is I agree with you in terms of the cornerback position. I think that I would take Greg Newsome over J.C. Horn, and I think that's what the Eagles should and maybe will do. So I'm going with Greg Newsome there at 12.
I love me some Greg Newsome. I was on that hype train real early, but why do you think the Eagles go with him?
It's just their team is not good, and I know it's very interesting analysis for me there, but um, their defense is just non-existent. They even just ignoring the fact that they threw a game to get the 3rd overall pick,
Sixth, but yeah.
or 6th, my bad. But they um as a whole, their team is lacking a lot, and they have apparently a lot of faith in Jalen Hurts, which I don't think either of us have. But it's right now, of the people available at the 12th pick, they need to just bolster their defense more.
Yep.
If we're going off the assumption that they're really hoping that Hurts is going to be a great quarterback going forward, then the number one position they need to fill would just be anybody on their defense, and their number one need would be a cornerback. And you and I both agree, Newsome is just J.C. Horn is great, but Newsome has a lot of interesting aspects about him, and I think he is
Newsome was dominant at Northwestern.
Yeah.
There was not a single game where he did not show up on tape and completely lock down their number one receiver. There's not a single game. J.C. Horn got put in a blender for the entirety of the Alabama game. And I know it's Jalen Waddle and Devontae Smith, and I know that tons of draft analysts love J.C. Horn. I just don't see it. I see an unfinished project that's a zone corner. Like, I know physical zone corners have to be incredible at the line to succeed. It's why Richard Sherman was so good, because he was great at the line of scrimmage to not let people get into their break quickly and to shut them down from there. J.C. Horn gets lost with his hands at the line of scrimmage regularly. All right, so that's why I'm not big on J.C. Horn. As far as Greg Newsome, I think one of the most unspoken corners in this class. He is awesome.
Yeah.
He's so good. And he does things that I wouldn't say no one else in this class can do, but he's like the perfect hybrid between the athletic ceiling of Caleb Farley and the consistent play of Patrick Surtain. I love Greg Newsome. There was a point where I thought he could be a 2nd-round pick and was screaming that if he was there, the Giants needed to go up and get him.
Yeah, I mean, it's Greg Newsome is just there's I watched a lot of his I haven't watched a lot of the film, but I've just seen a lot of his games this past season,
Yeah.
and he's the one game that he sort of that wasn't as prominent was just the Big Ten championship, but other than that, he was their best player, on the field for Northwestern, and was usually the best defensive player on the field in any game that he was in.
Yeah.
And I would go as far as to say he's probably the best Northwestern player in the last 10 years.
You mean on defense?
On defense, yeah.
Yeah.
And he's that team as a whole isn't that great historically, but there's a reason why they've been able to make the Big Ten championship two of the last 3 years, and that is in big part to Greg Newsome.
Yeah, he is, in my opinion, him and Levi Onwuzurike are the two most underappreciated and underrated players in this draft, with a close third to Tevin Jenkins.
Yeah, I mean I like what I'm seeing out of him, and I think even though I dislike the Eagles like you, I think that he's gonna be if he does go to the Eagles, that defense might actually be a sight to behold for the first time in ages.
Yeah, I mean, what we saw last year is that without a good number 2 corner, your number 1 corner can't be great. So Darius Slayton couldn't be great last year because he didn't have a running mate. The Eagles were still hemorrhaging passing yards because they didn't have a pass rush or, a good secondary. And I think Greg Newsome does help a lot of that. People are going to argue about, it's overdrafting him, all of that, but just watch the film. Watch the film. That's all I have to say about that. Greg Newsome's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
All right, I got the Chargers then. I got Herbie, the team of, Justin Herbie fully loaded. And just looking at the board, this one's pretty easy. You need an offensive lineman. You went out and spent on Brian Bulaga last year. You went out and spent on, what's the name of the center they got from the Packers? Good Lord. Why are names so difficult? It's not Elton Jenkins. Elton Jenkins was their guard. That is now they're probably going to move to center. Chargers center. Corey Linsley. Thank you. Awesome. They got Corey Linsley, spent a lot of money on him. Getting someone on the outside now is going to make that offensive line so much better. And you got to protect Justin Herbert. And also, you got to make Austin Eckler's life a little easier. That being said, it's pretty easy. Rashawn Slater ends his slide, goes to the Chargers, and immediately makes that offensive line way better. Anyway, makes that offensive line way better. And I'm excited to see Justin Herbert break some more records. Yeah. Look, he was so good as a rookie last year. He's going to be so good this year. And I'm so excited. I'm excited for the next season. I'm excited for the draft, excited for next season. If Rashawn Slater does go earlier, keep an eye on Christian Darrisaw. I know a lot of people like him. I'm, middle of the pack on him. I think the lack of footwork is what really worries me. Because the whole issue last year was, okay, Andrew Thomas's footwork is good, but he gets lost on it a little bit. And it's really consistent, but it's also not going to wow you. Yeah. Sam, are you there?
I am. Can you hear me?
Oh, awesome. Sorry. It's not going to wow you. I just think Rashawn Slater is such a good tackle. And look, if you can shut down Chase Young, you deserve to be in this conversation. You deserve to be a top 15 pick. Rashawn Slater deserves to be a top 10 pick, but it probably won't happen because there's going to be such a run on, great quarterbacks and then great wide receivers.
Yeah, I mean he's a beast, and he's thinking about that offense is going to be scary next season. I think they're going to be second in the division. I think they might make the playoffs. And there's a lot to look forward to with that team, and just to think Herbert's performance last season was with the fact that he didn't start for the first like 4 or 5 games of that season, and he's like going forward. That team is going to be a very, very strong team, and maybe the best team in Los Angeles next season.
Yeah, I mean Herbert missed the first 3 games, I think it was. Right? It's either 2 or 3 games before, the team doctor stabbed
Before he paid the team doctor to stat Tyrod Taylor.
Thank you, Tyrod Taylor. All I could remember was that he was on the Texans now, and all I could get was to Titus Howard, who's their right tackle, and good Lord. But yeah, I mean, you protect your franchise quarterback. The 3 most important things to find in football are a great quarterback, a great edge rusher, and a great offensive line, more specifically left tackle.
Yeah.
The Chargers have their great edge rusher in Joey Bosa. They have their great quarterback in Justin Herbert, and now they have their great left tackle in Rashawn Slater.
Exactly. Yep.
There you go. All right, Sam, number 14. Minnesota Vikings. Who you got?
Yeah, this is an interesting position because they've had Kirk Cousins is ass, but
Oh, come
a lot of money.
Kirk. All right, I'm sick of the Kirk Cousins slander. Kirk Cousins is an above average quarterback.
He's average. I wouldn't say above average, but I mean
he helps you win games.
He does, and he's a great team leader. As off the field, at what he does, we like that about him.
Yeah, exactly. And he did everything he did last year. He did without an offensive line. So
yeah, and there's a lot of that team has a lot of depth in terms of skill positions. Adam Thielen is sort of in limbo in terms of it's unclear if he's going to stay or not, especially with Justin Jefferson shining like he did last season as a rookie. You have Justin Jefferson's going to be the number 1 receiver on that team, and then Thielen's going to be the 2, and you have Dalvin Cook, who's a monster as well.
Yep.
And
Irv Smith is set for a breakout too.
Yeah, Irv Smith too. Because they got rid of what's his face?
Kyle Rudolph.
Yeah, and so there's definitely a lot of options that they have here. Especially there's a lot of people still around.
Yep.
That would really fit well with their team.
What I will say is let's just look at the Vikings depth chart real quick, because it's funny. Here we go. Let me show you something real quick. Dakota Dozier, Ezra Cleveland, Mason Cole, Drew Samia, and Kyle Hinton are 4 of the top 5 guards.
Yeah.
That's terrible. And look, I think Ezra Cleveland is probably going to move to left tackle either way. So those are your 4 starting guards. The Vikings are just apparently cannot have good guards.
Yeah, I'm looking at. There's a lot of options they have. You have people like Elijah Vera Tucker, but as you said, they're probably going to move Cleveland over to left tackle, so they wouldn't necessarily need him. Christian Barmore's decent. He did a good job at Bama. I'm just kind of scrolling through the various options here to sort of weigh.
Yeah, it's a weird situation to be in. Because maybe this is overdrafting AVT a little bit.
Yeah.
But it's not like, I mean, I don't know. Corner, it'd be weird to go corner here, even though Jeff Gladney, who was their first round pick last year, is currently, in like going to court. Like he's major legal troubles right now. But they got Cam Dantzler last year, who looked great for them. They spent on Patrick Peterson, so they probably wouldn't go corner here. But who knows, man? It's such a strange spot to be in.
Yeah, I mean, I think just really for what they need, I think that AVT does fit that. I think Elijah Vera Tucker is going to be, he's not the best, left tackle we've seen in recent years, but he's still damn good. And
he's a great interior offensive lineman.
Yeah, he is strong, and he's going to be a really good aid to that offense, especially just creating options for Kirk Cousins and just time for him.
So you're taking AVT?
I am, yeah. So I would think if Slater was still there, I probably would have taken him, but not probably. I would definitely would have taken him. But AVT is just he's great. He's going to do great, and I see a lot of upside for him as an offensive lineman.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I love AVT. I think the fact that he can come in day one and be a great guard, and if, Ezra Cleveland or whoever it is doesn't work out at left tackle, he can move outside. Like, the thing for me with Rashawn Slater is you don't take a great left tackle and convert him to a guard if he's a great tackle. But having a great guard that can play outside as well is incredibly valuable.
Yeah, definitely. There's a lot of dynamics to his play as well. He's more than just a blocker. He knows how to read a defensive line and a defensive setup as well. He's a smart player, and you don't see a lot of smart players coming out of in that position. And
yeah,
he's a special guy, so I think he's going to do well.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it's hard to not keep bragging about these players that I said would rise early on, and now they're rising. But AVT was one of my guys.
Yeah. And
all right.
He's great.
Yeah.
As I said.
Okay, well, here we go. 15, second half of the trade down with the Broncos, and there's still no one I really love for them here. You know what? I would love to see Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah in the Vic Fangio scheme. The only issue I see is that I think Jamin Davis out of Kentucky could go in the second round. I'm personally probably not going to take Micah Parsons in the first. And you can get great linebackers like Zaven Collins. Oh my God, Nick Bolton, all of them in the second round. So I don't think we might not see a linebacker go in the first round. That being said, if one does go, it'll be someone like Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah.
Yep.
And I would love to see JOK, his best skill is how great he is in pass coverage. And when you need someone to cover Travis Kelce, Darren Waller, Hunter Henry, or no, not Hunter Henry anymore, whoever the Chargers are going to get at tight end, if you need someone to cover all of those guys, come on now. This is the best tight end division in all of football. Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah was great against tight ends. You may argue that drafting for, positional need for 6 games a year instead of the rest of them is malpractice. I just think it's incredibly important to get someone like that. And he's also going to help their run defense a ton. He's going to let Justin Simmons play further back as the free safety that he actually is. And it's not an overdraft here. It would have been at 9. It's not here. So it kind of worked out for them now that I think about it. I love the JOK pick to the Broncos. I think he fits them really well.
Yeah, I mean, this is absolutely the same exact pick that I would have made. And there's people always talk about, Micah Parsons, blah, 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 blah. But JOK is a beast. He's the reason why he's part of the reason why Notre Dame did really, really well this past season.
Yup.
And he's going to be, that team is not going to succeed anytime soon, I don't think. But they are but with this addition, Denver is at least their defense is going to be able to step it up.
I mean, they've invested so heavily into offense through the draft and youth free agency for defense. It might be time to start drafting a bit for defense as well.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, I'm patting myself on the back for this. I love JOK to Denver. I'd be really happy if that were to happen. All right, Sam. It's time for the Cardinals, who we've heard want someone like Jalen Waddle, but he's long gone at this point, and they are not going to find their complement to DeAndre Hopkins. Because look, after next year, AJ Green is a 1-year thing. Larry Fitzgerald either retires this year or is a 1-year thing. And at that point, you have Andy Isabella, Christian Kirk, and DeAndre Hopkins. But none of those wide receivers are there anymore. And they have a ton of positions of need. So where are you going with this, Sam?
Yeah, this is an interesting one. They of course need a good number 2 in the receiver position, but there's not one on the board right now that I would take at 16. I think that their best option is probably going to be bolstering their defense. Of course, they just got JJ Watt, and he's going to really, really help that defense.
Yep.
There's no denying that. But I think that one thing that they just need is just to have a more dynamic defense, because they had a really good offense this past season. It was Kyler Murray's breakout season, basically, and not to say he didn't do well his first season, but last season he was just a star. And
shout out Kyler Murray for essentially winning me my fantasy championship.
And of course, Hopkins is top 3 receiver in the league, and I think he's gonna be in Arizona for a long time. I don't really see him going anywhere else. I think he actually really likes being there as well. And I just think their defenses need a little bit more dynamism, and I think that I think that at 16, I'm gonna go with JC Horn.
Okay.
I think it's kind of an interesting pick. It's not. I don't know if he's necessarily a top 16 pick as a whole, but just they need a cornerback badly.
They really do.
Their secondary is just not good.
I mean, Budda Baker's awesome.
Yeah, Budda Baker's
that's about where it ends.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. And you need more than just one player to have good pass defense. And JC Horn isn't, he's not the answer. He's not going to make that defense instantly click, but it's a step in the right direction for them. And I think overall, it's probably the best choice. I was also considering taking, somebody like Jalen Phillips or Kwity Paye or Ojulari, but there's a lot of options they had. As I said, I just think they don't need to fill the edge position either, just because they just got JJ Watt. So
yeah, I think I might have gone Darisaw here, or
that's definitely who I was considering as well.
Sam Cosmi was in the back of my head as well.
Mm-hmm.
Just because a pass protector to one issue we saw with Kyler at the end of the year was injury.
Yeah.
And a lack of escapability when he was injured. So having a true pass protector at left tackle would be nice, especially when, their tackle position has been kind of a mess recently.
Mm-hmm.
I do like the Horn pick in terms of like positional value. I mean, you lose Patrick Peterson. Um, the roster is pretty bare at corner outside of that. There's the second round pick from like 3 years ago, whose name I can't remember, who they took to be a slot corner. Oh my god. Please, brain, work with me. Oh Jesus. Cardinals corner. I'm gonna find this. Coming in September. Thank you, man. That's helpful.
Just go to ESPN or something.
The Cardinals have played me for the last time. Come on. Oh, well, Malcolm Butler's there. I meant Byron Murphy. But even then, Robert Alford, like, what are we doing here? Come on now. And Malcolm Butler was very good last year, but not good enough to say that corner is no longer an issue. I don't know. It's the Cardinals are such a weird team because they could move up for someone like Waddle, or they could, stay here, take a tackle, or maybe even move back if someone wants to move ahead for like a tackle as well, or for who knows, maybe someone wants to move up for a corner.
Yeah.
But, yeah. All right, 17 Raiders. I don't know. I've kind of not supported the Raiders, but been interested in what they do. Of course, what we know they do is make stupid social media posts.
Yeah.
But either way, I'm gonna go Tevin Jenkins here. This is an offensive line clearly built around running the ball, an offensive ideology clearly built around running the ball, with Josh Jacobs and now Kenyon Drake being added. And Tevin Jenkins is a ridiculously good run blocker, and the Raiders just threw away their entire offensive line. And with how important it is to keep the offensive line going, you need to, there's so much to replace, man. Gabe Hudson, all of that. He's a center. I mean, you got to deal with what you have, and going Tevin Jenkins here, I think, makes a ton of sense. Just to replace, like tackle is so important. Tevin Jenkins fits the scheme more than a Darisaw or a Cosme, but I don't know. I like Tevin Jenkins to go here. I like Tevin Jenkins as a prospect either way. I mean, there's the whole Brett Coleman video about this is the meanest man in football, and he breaks it down in depth there. I would suggest go watching it. Tevin Jenkins is an awesome player and a vicious run blocker, and seeing Josh Jacobs be able to build up steam behind Tevin Jenkins and just go bowling through people would be great for an offense that at time was just anemic. And I could hear you talking about like, oh, go defense here, but there's really no player on the defensive side of the ball available here that's worth this pick.
Yeah. I definitely agree with this. And that's, I would have taken offensive tackle, and I'm not as high on the Tevin Jenkins hype train as you are, but it's definitely the right position to pick here. And I think he's the second best. Personally, I think I prefer Darisaw a little bit over Jenkins, but I do agree with this decision here.
Well, here we go. 18. Dolphins part 2. I think you've gotten both Dolphins picks so far.
I have, yeah. So at 6, I had them taking Penei Sewell. And I think it's also they could have taken a wide receiver at 6 as well. And they need a wide receiver. But I think that I'm actually going to go with Kwity Paye, which I think it might be a little bit of overdraft, but I think he's I mean, he's a big dude, and he's tough. Um, I think that he's gonna like they need an edge just as a team as a whole, but that team I think is going to be it's their defense is basically non-existent. With they have some bright spots here and there, but they need to work better on their how much pressure they're applying
Yep.
at the defensive line, and I think that I was weighing um, between Kwity Paye and Jalen Phillips for this one. I like Kwity Paye a little bit more than Jalen Phillips personally, but I think just overall they just need to bolster that defensive line and just improve how much pressure they're giving. They can't give quarterbacks as much time as they have been giving them, and they need to just from the bottom up just improve how they treat an offense, how they get past an offensive line. Because I don't even know how many sacks they had this last season, but I
Yeah,
don't
it
think
took
was
a
very high.
great and a career year from Emmanuel Ogbah to have any type of pressure, and you
Yeah.
can't count on career years, especially
Yep.
not for a player that we know what they are as Emmanuel Ogbah. Can I just say very quickly that the way PFN has their edge listed is terrible.
Yeah.
It's really bad. Ellerson Smith is incredibly underrated. Love Ellerson Smith. Joe Tryon should probably go in the first round. Carlos Basham is an insane athlete. Same with Patrick Jones, wherever they have him. Patrick Jones there. Insane athlete who plays hard. Jalen Phillips should be the number one edge in this class. Gregory Rousseau should not be as high as 34. And Owe and Osai has incredible flexibility, but doesn't really have, any of the technique or strength to go with it. And Owe is just a great athlete. Same with Ojulari. Ojulari got destroyed by it's the tackle that has the crazy funny name. Not Brady. Stone Forsyth completely destroyed Azeez Ojulari.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to talk about how screwed up the edge rankings were on PFN and how much I disagree with them. All right, 19. Washington, who all things considered have a really good roster. There aren't many holes on Washington's roster.
Yeah.
They got way better at corner, edge. Their whole defense is set. Their offense, the offensive line could be improved, true, and there's going to be a run on corners. But I think I'm going to have a trade happening here. And while we were recording this, there was a report that came out that the Saints desperately want to come up and get Caleb Farley.
Huh.
They already have Marshawn Lattimore, but having the upside at corner, and corner is a big need for them, especially when they're cap crunched and Marshawn Lattimore could leave as part of a cap crunch. I know they just got rid of $100 million in being over the cap, but I think adding a corner like Caleb Farley, adding that upside could make a defense that kind of struggled at times last year so much better. And I think Washington is the exact right spot for them to come up and get him. Because I don't think Caleb Farley is going to last past a team like Tennessee. I think Chicago's in a win now year, so they have to stick around there and try to get the best player available. And then the Colts are going to sit there and take whatever tackle they can get. So Washington is, I think, the only spot they can trade up. And it's going to take probably 60 and then a third and a fifth next, or a third and then 105. Does that work? Aha, trade has been accepted.
Yay.
Cool. So with the Saints on the board here, I guess I should have asked because it's an even team at 28. But
Hey, go for it.
and then after talking about it, who I am going to take is Caleb Farley. obscene, like absolutely insane athletic upside. Probably the best press man corner in this entire draft. Even over Surtain. The issues are, of course, injury based, and with such a serious spine injury, where it's an 80% chance of recovery and a 20% chance of just not playing again. There's worries, and there's always going to be worries. But for the Saints to get a chance at what is probably a top 10, 12 player in this class, and only have to give up, 28, 60, and then some, essentially not really important picks to get someone at a player of this caliber, I think is an incredible move.
Yeah, I think that for a trade, I think that's the best chance. I haven't seen that report, but that it makes a lot of sense just as a whole for that team. The Saints, they need to just improve that defense, and it's just their defense is fantastic, first of all, but it's like once they get that set, and of course it's up in the air with the quarterback next season, but their offensive weapons are there, and that's going to really round out their team and make them a threat.
Yeah. I mean, the report came from Rappaport, and it said, well, first from Charles Robinson, says he's hearing the Saints might move up to get them, and the Saints feel they may need to move ahead of the Titans to get it done. Ian Rappaport says, have heard this as well. The Saints are a team weighing a potential move up. Not sure if it would be for Caleb Farley, but cornerback is a big need for New Orleans.
Yeah, that definitely makes sense. Whoa.
Also, Teddy Bridgewater just got traded to the Broncos.
I just saw that too.
Wow. Okay. Well, I guess it's good that we didn't take Mac Jones at 9 then.
Yeah.
I still stand by the Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah pick as well. So that's not going to change the draft very much. Yeah, it's not going to change anything for either team, honestly.
Just Teddy Bridgewater for a 6th-round pick. That's an interesting trade. Panthers must not have valued him very much, but
yeah,
I definitely take Bridgewater over Drew Lock.
I like Drew Lock a lot more than Daniel Jones in that draft class.
Yeah, me too.
But especially no one outside of Kyler has been good from that draft class.
Yeah, it's going in, people were like, oh, this is going to be a great quarterback draft class. And then
no one said there was going to be a great draft quarterback class. Everyone was saying it was a particularly weak one.
But there were still a lot of shining points at that. I mean, had Haskins, which he fizzled out faster than you could blink. But, and of course, Kyler is just leagues ahead of everybody else in that draft class.
Yep.
And when you look at previous first overall picks, you often find people like maybe we shouldn't have taken the first overall. Kyler was an easy choice for first overall.
Yep.
But yeah, that's besides the point now.
Yep. All right. So you got Bears.
The Bears. Of course,
Bears.
Their number one need is a quarterback. But there's no quarterback left that.
Kellen Mond in the first.
Yeah, I mean, Kellen Mond is decent, but he's not. He's not the 20th overall pick. It's just. God, it's such a weird situation for them. I mean, Andy Dalton. Like, what the hell are they thinking? But I think they're also a team that might try and trade up for a higher pick.
Yeah. I mean, in our situation where quarterbacks go 1, 2, 3, 4, 9.
Yeah.
I'm not sure they can get that far up. But if again, Mac Jones at 3, if it happens, then they would be a team that came up for Fields or Lance.
Yeah, definitely. And of course, there's a lot can change the next 36 hours.
Yep.
Up until the draft and through the entire first round. So, but currently in our draft here, I mean, they just need.
Well, I mean, Allen Robinson's coming back on the franchise tag.
Yeah,
and it's his second franchise tag. So after this year, he is gone.
Yeah, so their offense has one weapon, maybe two, and they just need to improve that. They're not going to be able to do that with a quarterback at 20. Um, Elijah Moore, maybe. Rashad Bateman, maybe. But I don't have huge faith in either of them. I think their best bet here is to take Darisaw. I think there's
I
nobody.
was so far down, and I was like, oh, what's going on? Why is Etienne the top player on the board? Darisaw, let's go for it.
Yeah, so he's their team, as I said, they need a lot of improvement on the offense, and Andy Dalton's not going to lead them to a Super Bowl. Allen Robinson is good, but he, as you said, he's not going to be there for another season after this one. They need to incentivize quarterbacks wanting to go there, because there's a reason why there wasn't a trade for a good quarterback or a free agent quarterback going to the Bears. It's just because nobody wants to play for the fucking Bears. And so getting a good offensive tackle like Darisaw is definitely going to help just improve their team as a whole and get more people wanting to play for them.
Absolutely.
For the following season.
Yeah. I mean, even then, you need a tackle. You need a whole offensive line. The Bears, for how remarkably decent they are in terms of winning games, need so many positions. Most notably for me, they need everything on the offensive line, and then a wide receiver, and then a quarterback. So the only position on the offense they have like nailed down and good is David Montgomery at running back. Yeah. Outside of that, it's bad.
I am glad I'm not a Bears fan, because
I can't imagine being a Bears fan. That'd be terrible.
The Bears years and years ago had their spot in the limelight, and they have not been in the limelight since. And they're up there with the most obnoxious NFL fans. But
I feel like Bears fans are Timberwolves fans if the Timberwolves actually ever won something.
Yeah.
We're like Timberwolves fan. I am a Timberwolves fan. We're so done with hoping that it's just kind of like, oh, we lost by 30. Yeah, we suck. It's the whole like, the meme with the blonde guy with the beard, and they just stare at each other, and it's like, yes.
Yeah.
It's we suck. Yes. And I feel like Bears fans are that, except they've won something, so they expect enough for them to complain when it doesn't go their way.
Yeah, there's a lot of that team needs rebuilding, and this season with their current quarterback situation is just. I wouldn't be surprised if in the second or third they try and take a quarterback. They might even wait to the fourth.
Well, I can almost guarantee that if Kellen Mond is there with their second round pick, they're going to take him.
Yeah, and a lot of Bears fans have been wanting them to trade up to get Fields. They're not going to be able to do that. They don't have enough.
Yeah, I mean they're going to have to trade multiple firsts if they want to do that. If they want to get all the way up to 4 and guarantee they get one of their guys, you're going to have to trade way too much.
Yeah, it's not worth it.
Yep.
It's not worth it for them. And
yeah.
I don't know. That team is just a weird situation.
Yeah, for sure. All right, 21. Colt time. I mean, I can make it pretty clear that they're going to go with a tackle here. Preferably one that's a great pass protector, but also has potential to grow into a good run blocker as well. I'm probably going to go Sam Cosmi just because I'd rather protect the investment on Carson Wentz than, get a great run blocker and just help Jonathan Taylor while Carson Wentz is on the ground all the time. Because if you are going to save Carson Wentz, you're going to do it by protecting him and then coaching him up. So I am going Sam Cosmi here, who I think is the best pass protector in the class. I think we're going to see a bit of a run on tackles here because, after the Titans and the Jets, Steelers need one, Jags need one, Browns don't need one, but Ravens need one. Washington kind of needs one. And it's 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 of the next 6 teams need a tackle.
Yeah, and
Or sorry, 4. Wait, 5 of the next 7. Can I count? 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, fuck it. 4 of the next 7. Who knows? Either way, we're going to see a bit of a run on tackles.
and this is I agree with you on the Cosmi. I'm on the Cosmi train with you. He's, I think, probably the most of potential first round picks at tackle. I think he's the most underrated of them.
Yep.
And he didn't shine too brightly at Texas, but he's so athletic, and he's going to be, I think, on a team like the Colts, their number one goal is going to be protecting Carson Wentz. Carson Wentz is a young-ish quarterback that is so unbelievably prone to injury.
Yeah.
And the fact that he's been injured so many times doesn't help his injury proneness. But the thing you got to do when they traded for him, they need to start investing in protecting him to keep him, because they obviously want him there. So they just want to make sure that he wants to stay there going forward. And Cosmi is a great option for that.
Yep, for sure. Yeah, I mean, they need to make Wentz work, because if they don't, they're kind of up a creek with no paddle. Because at that point, what quarterback are you going to get? Like, they tried to make a do with Phillip Rivers, but that's not really going to work.
No, sir.
And now they're going to try to make do with Carson Wentz, and they better hope that works. Either way, we got the Titans at 22. And Sam, I want to offer you a trade on behalf of the New York Football Giants real quick for 22.
Okay.
I want to offer you. Let's see. Titans. Oh, shit. Let's see. And you can say no to this. You can say no to this. You can say there's someone I want the Titans to take. But I want to offer you 42, 76, 196, and a third next year for 22.
Yeah, fuck it, why not?
All right. Because what Dave Gettleman, it was declined. All right. I guess I got to offer a bit more then. I'll offer 22, Jesus, for 42, 76, 116.
And a second, maybe?
I'll do a second for a third next year. How about that? And then I'll throw in a fourth. Why not?
Just stack it really heavily for the...
Yeah. Titans trade with Giants. I wonder if I can just do this and it'll work. Haha. Cool. All right. Well, there's obviously going to be more involved, but the Titans trading out of the first round kind of makes sense. Especially, they're going to get way more than, just a swap for 22 for 42, obviously. But Dave Gettleman has been known to move back up into the first round for players that he really likes. And going 20 picks from 42 to 22 isn't unheard of, especially with none of, sure, you can take an edge rusher, but Azeez Ojulari is not it for the Titans. Osai is not it. Gregory Rousseau isn't even an option there. And the Titans have kind of steered away from major injury risks, but a player that has been in the rumors for the Giants for a while, it's Jalen Phillips.
Yeah. That's exactly who I was thinking as well. Jalen Phillips it's kind of criminal that he actually hasn't gone this soon, but
yep.
He is, and on the Draft Network, he's their 15th ranked player.
Yeah.
And he's for good reason too. I mean, I wouldn't go as high as 15, but
He
so
could be
I
a
would take
JJ
it
Watt type player.
22. Yeah, definitely. He's a transfer guy, so he sort of understands different teams and how to sort of fit in within your dynamic. So I think he's gonna be able to fit in right away with that team as well. He's used to being able to move around, and he's he's the best option for them. And it's their defense is not bad. It's actually pretty good, despite their record.
Yep.
And it's just Daniel Jones isn't helping their defense in any way in terms of getting the defense to the spot and the spot that they deserve. Because
Also, they've invested in safety and defensive tackle really heavily. What they don't have is any type of edge presence.
Yeah.
And they don't their main pass rushing threat comes from Leonard Williams, who's a hybrid defensive end defensive tackle, and from schemed pressure from corners.
Yeah,
so if you can't get after the quarterback, there's not a whole lot you can do on defense.
Yeah,
and
go ahead.
I've loved Jalen Phillips. I had him as my number one edge when this whole process started. And I think he's someone that could go a lot higher than we think, because I think someone's going to overlook the concussion concerns, and with good reason too. He's an incredible player when he's on the field. When he's on the field, he's not, Joey Bosa, Nick Bosa, Chase Young, but he is half a step underneath that. He is incredible.
And he's incredibly strong. I mean, he's 6'5", 258, which, for an edge, you might want somebody that's a little bit heavier, but that's he's strong as hell. And he knows how to push past any offensive tackle. And I think he's also a sleeper pick for defensive rookie of the year, I think.
Yeah, if he stays on the field, he's going to be incredible.
Yeah, I think it's going to come down between him and Surtain, I think, for defensive rookie of the year.
Yeah. It is all about where they end up.
Yeah,
of course. But those, if I'm a Giant, I am a Giants fan. If we come out of this draft with Jalen Phillips and Devontae Smith, I'll be incredibly happy.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Sam, since I essentially gave away the Jalen Phillips pick, why don't you take 23 for the Jets and then 24 for the Steelers, and I'll take 25 and 27.
Yeah, sure. Let's do this. So, the Jets, what position don't they need to fill? Of course, we filled in quarterback.
Left tackle?
Yeah, there's that they have, if they're the JV team of the NFL, and there's a lot of need to improve as a team. And if Jalen Phillips wasn't taken at 22, Jets easily would have taken him. I think that their defense is just not good. Their team is not good. They sucked. And it's a tough spot to be in for a team. This sort of limbo of from the 20th pick to the 32nd pick. There's a lot of things you can do here. Because these teams, of course, this team is from a trade. This position is from a trade. So most of the teams here, they don't need anything in particular. But I think that really what they just should go for is just filling out that defensive line, if you ask me. And so I'm going to go Ojulari here.
Okay.
And I think he might be, he's a bit overrated, but he's good. He has a lot of downside, a lot of upside, a lot of pros and cons to him as a player, but he's something that the Jets need to, defense wins games. It's everybody praises the quarterback for winning a game. It's the defense that wins the game, unless it's one of those shootout games where it's 56 to 53 or whatever. But it's they just, as a team, the Jets need to improve at every single position, and they have a lot of options going forward as well later on in the draft to get other positions that we need to fill out, like offensive tackles and things like that. There's a lot of offensive tackles in the draft this season.
Yep.
And a lot
Sam,
of great ones they're going to go into the second round.
You want to make a bet live on the show right now?
Sure.
Azeez Ojulari will not go in the first round.
Yeah, I'm honestly kind of I kind of agree with you here, to be perfectly honest with you. And I think obviously these teams have done a hell of a lot more scouting than I have.
Yeah.
They know these players inside and out, and they do interviews, a plethora of other things just to determine that they're drafting the right guy. And from what I hear, he's not, for a lot of teams, he is not the right guy.
Yeah.
And I just think the Jets, new coach, good coach, is going to come in and
also defensive-minded head coach.
Yeah, and it's obvious that they needed to take a quarterback at 2. There's nothing else they would take. Even if this draft class didn't have 3 to 5, depending on how you look at incredible quarterbacks that are going to go in the first round.
Yep.
I say 3 to 4. Then they would still be taking a quarterback. It's no question how badly they need a quarterback. So number 2 overall, they're easily going to take a quarterback.
Yep.
In 23, I think it's still just a great spot for them here.
Yep.
To sort of just bolster that team.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I don't think I would have gone Ojulari here. I think I would have been more comfortable if I am going to take a shot on athleticism. I'd rather it be, Rousseau or Owe. I'm just kind of out on Azeez Ojulari. I mean, look, it says gifted pass rusher. I know he has an incredible first step, incredibly explosive, fast, agile, all of that. Explain to me how he wasn't able to get any pressure if he was that good.
Yeah, I mean, he's also small. He's 6'3", which, I mean, it's not tiny for an edge rusher, but he's still, there's a lot to be left to be desired with him.
Yep. All right. Well, Sam, you got 24. You got a division rival.
I do.
I think this pick has kind of been written in Sharpie if a certain player gets here.
Yeah, there's a lot of uncertainty with that team going forward. I mean,
the uncertainty is that Ben is going to retire and they have no plans for quarterback. And
their backups consist of Mason Rudolph and Dwayne Haskins, which
that's bad. And they had two major
Braden Garoppolo.
And they had 2 major departures on the offensive line.
Yeah, exactly. And so, I mean, it's Alex Leatherwood for me.
I mean, I would agree with you. I think it's way smarter to go tackle. Everything we've heard is that there's no way. Ooh, Jesus! Everything we've heard is that there's no way that the Steelers don't go Najee Harris.
Yeah, I mean, Najee Harris he's incredible, and he is a great option for them. And the running back is an empty position for them. And it's just I think just as a whole, they just need to. There's going to be running backs available, and of course, there's going to be offensive tackles available in the second round and third round. I think just it was between Alex Leatherwood and Najee Harris for me. But I'm still gonna go with Alex Leatherwood just because that's the team that's the position that they've lost this offseason.
Yep.
And that's the position that they need to bolster because they have an old fat quarterback that they need to protect. And if I'm Mike Tomlin, I don't trust either of my backups. And Alex Leatherwood, I think, is up there with the offensive tackles and
Yeah, I mean,
in this.
replacing offensive tackle is so much more important than replacing running back.
Yeah.
I mean, the whole, you know how PFF posts like, oh, this offense would look dangerous, right? They had one with the Steelers where it was like Deontay Johnson, Juju, James Washington, Eric Ebron, Chase Claypool, Najee Harris. And then it was like, who's stopping them? And all the comments got it right. They said their offensive line. So I agree with you that Alex Leatherwood is a better pick for them. I just think they're going to go Najee Harris because I don't think they're going to be able to say no to a runner who runs hard and catches the ball well.
Yeah, I agree. It's there's a lot that team just as a whole, they're a step away. I mean, speaking a little biased here, but still just using some unbiasedness, I think Browns are going to win the division this upcoming season. But the Steelers are definitely.
I think the Ravens made a ridiculously stupid trade with the Orlando Brown trade.
Yeah,
the fact that they only got to move up 20 spots is ridiculous to me. But hey, I mean, they did it. So
yeah, there's that division I think it's going to be the most interesting division to watch because, I mean, even the Bengals with a healthy Burrow, they're going to be fun to watch.
Yeah.
And I think next season we're going to see, again, probably 3 teams from the division making the playoffs. Potentially, of course.
Yep.
So I think just, yeah, as we said 1,000 times, that team just, their offensive line they lost 2 great offensive linemen, people on the offensive line this past offseason, and they just need to bolster that more.
Yep. Yeah, I'm with that. I get it. All right. Well, we're back with the Jags. Ain't that fun? Man, I really don't know. I see Christian Barmore's there, but Christian Barmore isn't even my number 1 rated defensive tackle. And it's an incredibly weak defensive tackle class. So part of me really wants to go with my boy Live on Wuzurike, who, has had incredible games, incredible run stopper for a team that could not stop the run for anything. With Najee, well, I mean, they're obviously not going to go Najee Harris with James Robinson. By the way, thank you for trading me James Robinson in fantasy. I really appreciate it.
You're welcome. Don't mention it.
For Odell Beckham, who played a grand total of 4 snaps for you.
It was the best trade of my life.
Yeah, that felt good. But yeah, I mean, could this be a place for Trayvon Moehrig? Probably not. I wouldn't draft him here. It's such a weird spot. I mean, tight end is always a need, but Pat Freiermuth is not good enough to go here. It's such a weird spot, man. Ugh. Well, I mean, damn, I don't know. You know what I'm not happy with this spot. I would trade, but I don't know what someone would come up for. Here, there's no one I would trade up for at this point. You know what? Here's my thought process real quick. What helps a young quarterback the most? A good offensive line and specifically a great center. Yeah, that's my thought process. A great center helps such a ridiculous amount I'm going to go Creed Humphrey, who is the best center easily in this class. Build an offensive line around Trevor Lawrence. Build an offensive line ahead of James Robinson. A good center that can actually like adjust the offensive line for the quarterback helps so much more than what the other thing I was going to take here, which is a defensive tackle. And honestly, I don't know. I would trade down, but there's just nothing I would trade down with, if that makes sense. So that's what I'm going with. I'm going with Creed Humphrey. I don't know. I don't have too much to say about this pick, mostly because I just had not kept the Jags second pick in my brain until now. Like I'm prepared for 27 with the Ravens, but 25, I don't know, man.
Yeah, it's also just an interesting position that they're in. They have the first overall pick, and everybody and their mother knows who they're taking.
Yeah.
So I guarantee that they've put 1,000 times more thought into the 25th overall pick than they have into the first overall pick.
Yup, exactly. All right. Well,
the Browns.
Yeah, 26. It's your time, your team, Sam.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot to like about the Browns, a lot to dislike about the Browns, their roster specifically. I mean, and it's wide receiver. You know, they could use a wide receiver, but for one, there's not a huge amount of wide receivers I would take right now. I mean, Elijah Moore maybe, but
Need a coverage linebacker too, a little bit.
Yeah, and they still have good depth. I mean, Jarvis Landry, he's their wide receiver. He's going to be their main wide receiver next season, even with OBJ healthy. And yeah, I mean, it's just a tough sort of just spot to be in, especially trying to pick the best spot for your favorite team.
Yeah.
I mean, I think
no real crazy need for edge now that you got Jadeveon Clowney, though.
Yeah, and so it's like the Draft Network says their number one need is edge, but I'm like,
I would say their number one need is defensive tackle.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Completely honest.
I mean,
let's see, team needs edge, linebacker, wide receiver, defensive tackle.
I'm looking at people like Christian Barmore or Jamin Davis, for example, Zayvon Collins. It's their defense is a couple positions away from really growing, and safety is something that I also need as well. So I'm also looking like Trevor Moehrig. I think at this point, I'm probably going to go actually with Micah Parsons.
Ooh. Okay.
Which a lot of people would say he should have gone a lot sooner. I think you and I both agree he's good, but he's not great. You think he's a little overhyped.
He's a weird type of tweener, where he's not a good enough pass rusher to rush to rush every single down, but he's not a good in coverage to justify him not pass rushing every down.
Yeah, I mean, if you flesh out that defense as a whole, they're going to be they're going to be dangerous. Myles Garrett, who's just
terrifying
an animal.
Yeah.
And I hope he's starting to get better recovery just from having COVID, because of course we saw towards the end of last season he was getting pretty winded pretty quickly.
Yep.
And I'm sure he's doing a lot to work on that as well. And I mean, the dude is he is built like one of the Monstars. And he's that defensive line is going to be, if they draft right, I think they're going to be top 5 in the country. And of course, getting Jadeveon Clowney helps a lot with that as well. I think just Micah Parsons is going to help flesh out just their defensive threat as a whole. I was really considering somebody like Barmore, but I just think Micah Parsons, he has a lot of athleticism.
Yep.
His skill isn't always there, but he's super athletic. And so, again, I've said it a lot of times before, their number one goal is just fleshing that out. And I think he's going to have a lot of room to grow as well. And I think that a great place for him to grow would be in Cleveland.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, also when you have someone with character concerns, you want to get them to an organization that's stable. And right now, the Browns are stable.
It's their first time in 25 years, yeah.
Yeah, I like the pick. All right. 27, Ravens. So there's two big things the Ravens have to do in this draft. They have to replace Orlando Brown, and they have to get Lamar Jackson something to throw to.
Yeah.
Sammy Watkins is not changing anything. And I'm going to keep this fast. 27, I've been thinking about this for the past 5 minutes. Rashad Bateman fits the Baltimore Ravens like a glove. They have their speed threat, their field stretcher and Hollywood Brown. Rashad Bateman, I think, is an incredibly underrated wide receiver. I've compared him to LSU Odell Beckham Jr. without the special teams ability, but he's an incredibly great player after the catch and on routes cutting inside. So I love me some Rashad Bateman. I said I have him above Devontae Smith. He's an incredibly impressive player that's getting kind of overlooked because he had Tanner Morgan throwing to him. I would love to see him end up with the Ravens.
Yeah, this is absolutely the exact same thing I would have done as well. It's the best option for them. And I mean, there's not many wide receivers left that would even be in consideration to be a first-round pick.
Yep.
If you're going to take
Terrace Marshall. Terrace Marshall is really good.
Yeah, but I mean, at this point, Rashad is easily who I would take. I was even considering taking him for I think maybe it was the Bears. I can't remember who I was trying to think about, but I was considering him earlier as well, even earlier.
All right, Sam. We're going to speed it up a little bit at the end, but Washington, who traded back from, when was it? It was with the Saints, right?
It was 19.
Yep, 19. Who's Washington going with?
Yeah, so I think Washington, their primary need is it's either offensive line or linebacker in my eyes.
Yep.
And of course, we've taken most of the offensive linemen already. Landon Dickerson's great. There's a lot to consider.
Who are the top tackles? Dylan Radunz, Eichenberg, Jalen Mayfield, Stone Forsythe, Brady Christensen,
Walker Little. Mayfield or Eichenberg as well, just because those guys are also good. Let me see. Yeah, I mean, honestly, the defensive line for Washington is great. And it's a couple positions away from being one of the best in the NFC.
Jonathan Allen is an awesome defensive tackle for them. Chase Young, obviously. Montez Sweat. Matthew Ioannidis is a really good rotational piece.
Yeah, I mean, And then, of course, the question comes back into play is, if Fitzpatrick is going to be starting for them at quarterback, he's an old guy as well as far as quarterbacks go. And so you need to protect him. So you always got to consider offensive tackles, but there's not really an offensive tackle on the board that I would consider taking in the first round anymore. I don't think. I mean, there's some guys that, it's definitely an option to think about, but I think for this position that they're in, I'm going to actually go with Zaven Collins, actually.
Zaven Collins. I like it.
He's an interesting player. He was a great in high school, and really dynamic at Tulsa. People don't talk about Tulsa that much just because they're not that great of a team. But they, once they sort of roll in and start, and if he were to go to Washington, of course, once that ball starts getting to roll, that team on a defense, and Ron Rivera knows how to coach a defense really well. With other than Terry McLaurin, the defense was the shining star of Washington last year.
Yep.
And you don't need to improve their. I would go as far as to say that, and again, this is a bit biased, but McLaurin is the most underrated wide receiver in the NFC, maybe. At least going into last season, but of course, after last season, everybody saw how great he was.
Yep.
So they don't need to grow on that aspect. So I think just linebacker filling out that defensive front is going to just help them tremendously.
Yeah, I agree. I think Zaven Collins is a really good fit for them. I mean, I love Jamin Davis. I talked about this before. I do think Zaven Collins is going to be terrifying.
Yeah.
As an occasional blitzer behind that defensive line. And I mean, as a middle linebacker, it's a little strange as far as fit goes, just because they have like with John Bostic, they'd have 2 run stoppers and not a whole lot of pass coverage there. But if you're doing that much damage as a pass rusher, it just kind of works.
Yeah, definitely.
All right. Packers 29. I'm going to say they're going a defensive player here. I don't know who that is yet. It probably has to be corner. There's not a single other good corner on this roster outside of why am I blanking? It's not Darnell Savage. Oh my God. I called him the best corner in the league. What's going on? Why is this happening to me? Oh, Jesus. Packers CB. Jair Alexander. Jesus Christ. Oh my God. Well, before I lose my brain again, I think I'm going to go. Oh God. I mean, I could argue going a center or a guard here. But that doesn't feel right. Yeah, I'm going Ifeatu Melifonwu. Pretty decent at Syracuse. Pretty athletic, pretty big. Not quick enough to be like someone who can cover all the way down the field all the time, but he should be able to improve on that. Also, you need someone who's going to replace Kevin King. Like, Kevin King is so dreadful, and getting him off the field more would be good. I could see Trayvon Moehrig here. I'm just not a big fan of going safety in the first round.
I agree with this. I think it's an interesting pick. A lot of people haven't been talking about him, but he's still. I think he's going to come out as being one of those guys that wasn't talked about as much, but is really going to shock a lot of people when he comes in.
Yep. Yep, for sure. I'm sorry I'm rushing a little bit. I have a class that starts in 20 minutes.
Yeah, no problem.
So
Let me just
Bills at 30.
Yeah, I already have my guy picked out for the Bills anyways. I'm going with Joe Tryon here.
Ooh, I love it. I love it.
So he's, the Bills don't need a lot. They're a great team, easily best team in their division. They're going to be the best team in their division for a while.
Yeah.
And so, and just really their defense is lacking for the most part, and he's going to be a really great addition there, just bolstering that defensive line, and they're going to be a scary defense.
Yep.
If they draft a good edge, it's going to be a tough team to stop. I think that they have maybe the best chance to win the AFC next season.
Yep, and Joe Tryon is a really good edge.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many edge rushers that people are talking about going in the first round that don't deserve it, and so many that people are saying like, oh, they're fringe top 100 that deserve to be so much higher. Ellerson Smith comes up on that list for me.
Mm-hmm.
Quincy Roche is underrated by this. I love Patrick Jones. It's just ridiculous. Shaka Tony even is being underrated by this, in my opinion. Jesus. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, edge rusher has always been one of my favorite positions to scout. And I love Joe Tryon. It's funny to look at this list right now because the top 4 edge rushers listed by PFN right now, I don't like any of them. And then you go down from 5 to like 8, and I like all of them. It's weird. 5 to 9 even, I like all of them. Either way, we have Ravens at 31. I'm going to take Ravens. It seems like Sam has left the call. He says his wife I just died. Either way, I'm taking 31 with the Ravens. And the question is, should it be tackle, like offensive tackle? Should it be edge rusher? Should it be a trade down? And I think someone is going to try to move up for a 5th-year option on one of the running backs, probably Najee Harris. And who needs a running back badly that would move up? The Falcons, probably, especially with their new head coach, Arthur Smith, or Arthur, what is it? Arthur something. Let's have the Titans move up with the Ravens, who aren't going to use 2 second-round picks. Come on now. Titans.
Yo, can you hear me?
Yep, I can hear you.
Perfect.
42.53 for 31. Boom. Haha. All right. Titans get 31. Titans. Oh, I meant Falcons. All right. Here we go. Titans trade with Falcons because I was not paying attention. Where the hell are the Falcons at? NFC. Boom. Okay. 31 for 35 and 108. And a future third, I guess. Oh, come on now. Titans trade with Falcons. 1, 2, 3. Why is that getting? Oh my! Who cares? All right. It really doesn't matter. The trade was supposed to be the Falcons moving up for this pick anyway. But it's just the Falcons getting a 5th-year option on Najee Harris. That's the whole trade. Their head coach, built around Derrick Henry, built the entire offense around Derrick Henry. Getting a player that isn't similar to Derrick Henry, but is certainly going to be the best running back on this team for a while, should fit them really well. All of that. Najee Harris, 31. Sam, why don't you wrap it up for us with the Bucs at 32?
Yeah, I mean, I think the Bucs have a really, really really, really good offense going forward.
Yep.
And I see a lot of places saying that they need a wide receiver. I disagree. Mike Evans, Chris Godwin. That's all I gotta say.
Scotty Miller, Cameron Brate, Gronkowski just gets better and better.
They're overall. The one thing that, if you want to focus on just the Super Bowl, saying, oh, their defense played really well against the Chiefs, the best offense in the country in the Super Bowl. That's one thing, but that's for just one game, plus the offensive line was just non-existent that day for the Chiefs. I think just really their best bet is getting a defensive position. And I think what I'm going to do here is I'm actually going to go with Christian Barmore.
Okay.
At 32. Christian Barmore is a fantastic player.
Yep.
We don't, I think, really need to justify why he's dropped as far as he did. A lot of places had him going in the top half of the first round.
Yeah,
I
but
disagree.
Sam, Justin Fields is going to go 32.
That's true. I forgot about that. He's going to be the second coming of Tom Brady. Yeah, but Barmore. He's a great player. He brings a lot to the table, as much as a defensive tackle can bring to a table.
Yeah.
And he is, for the most part, gonna fit in pretty well with that defense. And Bruce Arians is a great defensive coach. And Bruce Arians doesn't need to coach the offense at all, because he has Tom Brady, who's basically a player coach.
Mm-hmm.
And so that him focusing and their defensive team as a whole, the argument could be made for them going back to back. I don't think they will.
If they can't manage to pay Vita Vea, who they just brought back on his 5th-year option, if they can't manage to pay him, there's your replacement. There's your run stopper replacement.
Bingo. Yep, exactly. That's really all they need. And it's I think what they're gonna basically have going for them as a team is just they're gonna stomp everybody in their way for the most part. And of course we'll see exactly what their schedule is gonna look like next season after the draft. But I think for the most part they're gonna. I'm predicting them to win their division. And improving that defense is gonna help a lot with that.
Yep. All right. Well, Sam, as always, want to thank you for coming on. You got anything to promote?
Nope.
Well,
eat your greens, kids.
Don't smoke glue.
Don't inject the cocaine.
Indeed. All right. Well, as always, thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. Check us out on Insta at the 3OT Show. Hasn't been active for a while, but hopefully will be this summer. As always, have a great day. Thank you for listening. And bye.